Welcome to SITECH South, our tips and tricks that we're publishing on YouTube. We're using Civil 3D to prepare a DWG for import into Trimble Business Center. This is a process of reducing the design objects and various other objects down to basic elements such as lines, text. Now, the first thing we're going to do is to check to see if there's any drawings or file referenced to this file. So if I run the xref command, it brings up a dialog, and here this would have a list of all the other files, which could be JPEGs, it could be PDFs, or it could be other DWGs with information. And the thing to do is to look at that information or those file names to see if there's some data there that you possibly may need, but the engineer did not include it when they sent it. So you may want to contact them to see if they will send you that referenced file, because it's quite often that the person sending the file forgets it's got references to all sorts of stuff, and they don't use the operation that will bind them all together into a zip file. So you have everything. It's just that they get quite large when you do that. Okay, so there's nothing for us to do here, but that's what we need, what I would recommend you look for right as you're starting your process. If we go back and look at our document, so we've done this. The next thing we're going to do is spend some time in the area called tool space. And the first thing we're going to do is check the settings to see what the units are, and then we'll jump to the prospector and check to see what kind of objects are in the project. So if we go here, if we go to settings and we edit the drawing, the big thing we're looking for is what are the units. The default prototype file that comes with Civil 3D is either metric or international foot. And international foot is, when you're applying it to coordinates in the millions, is quite a bit different on the ground than the US foot. So I would recommend that you would change this, whatever item you need to change. In this case, it's got a state grid, excuse me, that has US foot. Sometimes there's no state grid and it's just the unit here. And I would just change it. If you do have to change it, I would hit the apply button here. In this case, we're not going to do anything. And now we'll come back to the prospector. And if we look over here in the sidebar, there's some surfaces. And there are some alignments. And there are some pipe networks. And these are design objects that will not translate from the DWG importing in the Business Center. You get information that you really don't like. It's large squares all over the place with AEC written down in the lower left-hand corner. And in this case, it doesn't have any corridors in the project, but we do have alignments, and you can see them here in the job. Okay, so we've taken our first look at what we're going to be doing. We went from the tool space, the settings, checked for the units, the prospector. We checked to see what kind of design objects were in there. The next thing is I would check see if there's any plots down in the layout or paper space area in the project. And if they are, I would delete them. So let's just take a look. That would be down here. There aren't any in this particular project, but I've seen many where if you click on this button, you have 10 or 15 or 20 drawing spaces, each one you click, and it's usually the plots for the design plans. And I usually just delete them all. They're usually should only contain references back to actual data that's in model space. So, but if you click there, you can see it looks very different. But this is where you would see your drawings that were going to get plotted. If we come back to model space. So we're now at the next step where we're going to be spending quite a bit of time just going through and cleaning stuff up, reducing it to basic native objects, lines, text, arcs, so on and so forth. So now we're going to be in the process of reducing. So if we go back here, and what we're going to use is the quick select option to do this. And if I just right mouse click and come down to quick select, it says there's 57 objects that were not selected. That's some of this stuff here. Excuse me. And I recommend, this is just Ron style, that you would go into and start with your block references and then select them all and say OK. And I'm going to bring my properties. I have this open on another window. We have 321 blocks. Now I think I have made a mistake and didn't do one step that I should have done. So we'll click out here and just hit the escape to let go of everything. And I'm going to bring the layer manager back in. And I believe in this project there are things that are turned off. You can see that. So this is one of the steps. I missed it. I usually do this right at the very beginning. First thing I do is I unlock if any of these are locked. It unlocks them. You don't see that very often, but every once in a while you will. And then for visibility, we're going to go in and we're going to hit the thaw. And you see something popped up here. Not that it's anything you would ever use, but at least it's turned on, and then we turn on. So all of these, the freeze, the frozen, thawed, they're all thawed, and the on and off, they're all on. Now this may make a difference when we come back in here and go to quick select, and we go to block reference, and we go to select all. And we had 321 before. Now we have 409. So that only selects information that is turned on. So what we're going to do now, we're not going to explode. We're going to use a command called burst. And if I hit that, it cycles through bursting the blocks. Now I have run into where I get 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000 blocks, and it takes a while for them to all get exploded. And now we're just going to do the same repetitive thing. I went to the recent input was quick select. We'll do this again, and there are more blocks. And these were probably nested blocks where you had a block inside of a block. And so we'll select all of them, and looking at the properties, there were 7 of them. So we'll come back and do the same thing and hit burst. And then we'll keep cycling through until we've bursted all the blocks. So the blocks are not showing up here anymore. And so now our next step, we went through, selected the blocks and burst them, and select them and burst them until they're all going. Now we're going to go through the general operation, and text, general text, we're going to explode, wipeout will erase, multi-leader, which is text, will explode, explode, explode. Some more blocks may show up because they were nested inside of these groups of text. Leaders will explode. Hatch will erase all of that. We don't need that extra line work. And eventually, we'll get to exploding these design objects. However, at this point, a lot of this text is based off of those objects, so I don't recommend you explode them first. So now we're just going to work through this part of the process. So I'm just going to start at the bottom. 2D polyline, that's a line. But the general segment label, again, we'll select all. Okay, and that's some sort of text label. And we will explode these because the burst command only works on the blocks. And then we'll just cycle back around and we'll keep doing this, and we'll get that little beepity beep. See that a block reference appeared from that, but I'm not going to bother with it for now because I might get them from all of these. And this is text, and we'll explode this. That's going to disappear when we explode some of those features like the pipes or the structures. And we'll just keep working our way up the list. Remember I said wipeout, which is where they blot out any line work behind text. And we'll erase this. And we'll continue through this. Multi-leader text. I explode this. And this is just a process that we do with every job, every CAD file, dumbing it down to basic elements. Okay, pipe, structure, we're not going to do that yet. Now, they have stationing for the alignment plotted somewhere. If I say OK, you can see it's along the alignment. Excuse me. I'm going to explode this. Quick select again. Now I'm using my mouse through all of this. That's just my habit. You can do some keystrokes, so on and so forth. I'm not opposed to that. It's just that I find this just easier for me. And so these are the minor tick marks or whatever. So we're going to explode this. Alignment, text, 3D, point, work my way up, hatch, select all, and I'm going to erase that. All right, so we have block references, and we have pipe, structure, alignment, text, MText, and the tin surface. So now we're going to start with these items. And if you remembered that when that number popped up, I'm going to cancel this for a minute, and I'm going to redo it. If we hit quick select, it says there's 57 objects that have not been selected. All right, so if we go to pipe and we select all, and it grabbed 14 pipes, and you can see some of this stuff highlighted here. And we're going to explode them. And we go to quick select. Now there's only 29 objects that could not be selected. And if we keep down this process and go to structure and select all, and we've got 14 structures, and we're going to explode them. And we quick select again, and that thing didn't come up at all. So we've reduced those unselectable items had to do with the pipes and the structures. All right, and you can see that this list is definitely getting smaller. I'm going to pick the alignment. And there's 3 alignments which we're going to explode. So we'll just continue this process. Quick select, see what's here, the tin surface. I know for a fact that when you select these, there's 2 surfaces and explode them, they create blocks. So I just haven't bothered to go in and do the blocks yet. Now we will go in, because I think that's about the last thing to do. Or maybe one more after this. All right. Oop, what did I do wrong? Block reference. Select all. There's 51 blocks. We're going to burst them. And go back and look again. We just keep going through this process over and over. Oh, well, let's grab all the leaders and explode them. And now we've got still going through the blocks. And we're bursting the blocks. The blocks are gone in text. Now, I don't like multiple text, and I've got my own reason for it. So normally I will select all the M text. That's one piece of text, but it's multi-lines of text. And I'm going to select all. And there's 323 of them. And I'm going to explode them down to single lines of text. So we are good through here. We'll take the network. And I'm going to explode that. Okay, so we're getting pretty close. We do quick select. And having worked with this file multiple times, we're going to see an issue in a minute. But what I've done is I've actually made, and I'll talk about this in a minute, but this is information that we probably don't need when we go over to Business Center. So I'll go in and say, oh, look at that stuff over there by zooming out some. I didn't want to zoom all because I'm going to show you there's an issue with this. If I go like this. And one thing that I've done that you can do is I've set up a view called all temp. It'll keep coming here. But this project has an odd thing in it. If I click on extents, where did everything go? Well, there's 4,641 objects there. I think there's an object over here somewhere. Where is it? Zoom extents. I can go back over here and make sure everything is turned on. On. Yeah, there it is. I have one object here called the ACAD proxy, and it won't let me delete it. And I've looked up through AutoCAD and everything, and so our data is here, and there's this one AutoCAD entity here. But by setting up a saved view, I can keep coming back to this view. When we go into Trimble Business Center, this is going to be carried in there, but we can delete it there. So the next step, next to the last step, we're going to run a command called Purge. And we're going to purge unnecessary stuff. Like, it doesn't do the full cleanup like you can do inside a business center, but we kept going until it removed blocks and block settings and whatever here didn't need to be there, like a reference. And you just keep hitting that and saying okay until this thing turned gray and you can't do anymore. All right. Now, I recommend that you do a save as of this file. And you see I've already got one out there. So what I'm going to do is put a dash purged 1, because I already got a dash purged with the one I was playing with just to test this. And if I hit save, that is now saved, and that's the file that I'm going to bring into Business Center. So let me check my document to see, have I covered all of this? Yeah, all the multi-leaders. Last step is purge, saved with a dash purge name. So we have now saved the file that we are in fact going to bring into Trimble Business Center. Thank you for watching this. We will have another video where I bring this project in, and I'll show you the next step of cleanup, because we do cleanup in Business Center as well. Thank you for joining this video. Have a great day. Goodbye.